Tell me why they got this man hung up by his drawers, bro, on my bed. I'm, I'm talking about he hanging, bruh. He's hanging by his drawers on my bed. Like, he not on my bed, but he's hanging from my bed. Like, you know everybody, you know my whole family.
The whole team.
God.
100.
100.
Double salute. Wildlife 100.
Wildlife 100.
I've been in the trap every day, I don't get much sleep.
Wildlife 100.
Something so real, so real, you can feel it in your knees. I need something like you, do you need someone like me?
What's moving, everybody? Hey, man, you already know what's going on. I'm back again with another crazy story, man. This is when my best friend sent me to jail for the unthinkable Part 8. For all of y'all who been waiting on it, hey, man, I'm just here to deliver. You already know what's going on. But listen, I ain't gonna make y'all wait too long. I appreciate everybody who been tapped in, liking, sharing, subscribing, and all that. But we gonna jump straight into the story. So where we left off at was basically I ended up going to court. My lawyer was dirty. I ended up making the judge cry. She gave me a long-term continuance because she couldn't look at me no more. I made her so emotional enough from my speech. She didn't even want to see me no more. You know, so she gave me a long-term continuance. For those of y'all who don't know what a long-term continuance is, it's basically when you leave court, you go get your stuff together, you know, whether you go get a job, go get in school, get better representation or something like that, and you come back to court ready to fight. So she gave me about 6 months of a long-term continuance. I came back. She ended up already settling on what she was going to give me. So she ended up giving me a 5-1, right? Me and my brother, we actually ended up coming back to court together, you know? So at the same time she gave me a 5-1, she gave him like a 15-10, right? He ended up only doing like 8 out of the 10, you know, which was still a lot. But, you know, remember I told y'all he confessed to being the shooter in the case. So, you know, the judge felt like he couldn't really, that was the best that she can do. Even though we kept it gangster throughout the whole case and all like that, like even me, she told me I was going to have to do some time because somebody got hit in the case. You know, somebody almost died, you know. So beyond the fact that I ended up going to go get me a job, I ended up going into school and all that stuff, she still was going to have to give me some type of time and just some kind of repercussion because somebody almost croaked. You feel me? And I respected that. The fact that she dropped my sentence from a 7-5 to a 5-1, I was already thankful. And then if y'all watch part 7, then y'all know she gave me a choice to do 12 months or a year. A year will be prison time. 12 months will be county time. The difference in prison and county time is in prison, you do just about all your time. But see, most people go to prison because it's a lot of freedom in prison. You know, their visitation is a little different. You know, they can walk around the yard. They can just do a lot more. They can get a lot more on the stove. You can smuggle stuff in and stuff like that. In the county, it's real close knit, fool. In the county, it's like you confined to one room, really, pretty much. One room inside a room. You feel me? In prison, it's like you can go outside in the yard. You can go to the lunchroom. You can go to the library. You can go all of these different places, you know. And also in the county, because I had a violent charge, I wasn't able to go to the law library or be a trustee or do certain things that other inmates could do, you know, because I was known as being violent, right? So she gave me the chance of picking county time or prison time, and I ended up picking 12 months. Also, with picking county time, you do less of your time, right? So I don't even know why other people would even pick prison time, you feel me? Because the whole point is to go home. You know, I ain't trying to be friends with none of these folks. I ain't trying to be comfortable. Straight up, I'm trying to get to the house, you know? So like I told y'all, I asked her, could I stay the weekend and say goodbye to my mama, you know, my family and things like that. She said, nah, you got to start today. So there it was. You know, they sent me back in that back room and shipped me on off to DeKalb County Jail. Y'all know how that whole situation go. I had to do the whole thing over again. I had to sit in the holding cell. I had to go upstairs to another holding cell, get checked, do the strip method. I had to squat. You know, for those of y'all who don't know what squatting is, that's when you butt naked and the officer that's frisking you, he makes you bend all the way down with your hands on top of your head just to make sure you're not hiding anything in your body or anywhere on your person, period, right? So I had to squat front ways and back ways. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a crazy situation. They gave me all my stuff. I already knew the routine by then, and they sent me up to the seventh floor again. I didn't think they was gonna send me up to the seventh floor this time because I had already caught my time, and it wasn't that much. Remember I told y'all I had did 3 months when I first got locked up, so I was only gonna have to do 6 months out of this year because she gave me time served for the first 3 months that I did, right? So that left me with only doing 9 months of my 1 year sentence. Remember I told y'all the county time you do three-fourths of your time or something like that. So they sent me up to the seventh floor, 7 Northwest, the same spot I was at last time. But this time, it just seemed like it was a little more different. It was biting just a little bit more. You feel me? And I'm finna get to that right now. You know what I'm saying? Listen, when the officer sent me up to the seventh floor, he walked me up there. Of course, we went up the escalator all the way to the top. I had to face the back of the escalator. I couldn't look at the front doors. The officer was in front of me. He was pushing the buttons. I'm chained up. When the escalator, when I'm sorry, the elevator, when the elevator went all the way up to the seventh floor, I had to walk backwards out the elevator until we got to the door. He turned me around. Now I'm seeing 7 Northwest again. Now, for those of y'all who never been to jail before, the Cobb County Jail at least, they have pods. It's this real big room and it's a center tower in the middle of it. And it's a pod here, a pod here, a pod there, a pod here, and a pod here, right? And in those pods house about 16 different doors, right? You got the top level and you got the bottom level. So it's 2 people to every one door, right? So out of those 16 doors, it's like 32 people in every pod, right? You got 16 at the bottom, 16 at the top, you know, if it's completely full. So now I'm looking at everybody in this pod, right? And I'm waiting to see which pod I gotta go into. So this time I think I went into the 100 dorm. That just so happened to be the first pod when you're entering this section of the jail, right? So I enter in and it was pretty cool. This time it was daytime. You know, my rotation just so happened to be out. For those of y'all who haven't been watching, rotation is basically when either the top row it comes out and gets to kick it in the day room. The day room is where people eat lunch. You can watch TV. You can just kick it. You can work out or whatever the case. That's how rotation works. When the top row comes out for rotation, they get to kick it in the day room. When they go in, the bottom row comes out for rotation and they get to kick it in the day room. Whether it's watching TV, working out, whatever, like I just said. I was on the bottom row again, and we just so happened to be out for rotation. Now, coming in the pod, we're out for rotation, but the officer pops my door. I'm at the end this time. They pop my door. I already know the routine, so I go and I put all my stuff inside of my pod, right? My cellie, he just so happened to stay in the room that day. You know, cause you can choose if you want to go outside or not, like go in the day room or not watch TV or you can just chill in the room for the rotation, you know, and you can go out next rotation or you can kick it in there for the rest of the day. It don't matter, you know. So I'm guessing that he was enjoying his time without having a cellie until I came. I walk in the pod, I walk in my cell, and I'm putting my mattress up. You know, I got the top bunk. He's already at the bottom bunk. I walk in, I don't say nothing. You know, this guy, he was a younger guy this time. He was a little more leaner. He was a little more meaner looking. You feel me? If y'all remember my last cellie, he was big and he looked a little mean too, you know, but he was come to find out he was a little soft. You know, he looked a little soft from the get-go, but I just wasn't sure 100%. You know, he was a little round, bald head guy. He was big, but, you know, he ended up being soft. This guy, I couldn't really just peep any softness on him, if that makes sense. You know, they popped my door. He stayed on his bed and he just looked at me. He just looked at me while I put my mat on my bed. I fixed my bed because remember I told y'all the last time I got locked up, they ended up raiding us and we ended up getting on lockdown. My specific dorm ended up getting on lockdown because I didn't make my bed, you know. My room, you know, not the entire pod. My room got on lockdown because I didn't make my bed. So I'm making my bed and all that, and me and my cellie, we just don't say nothing to each other. I I decided I didn't want to say nothing on purpose, because I didn't want to come in here nice. I don't know what type of person these folks here. Remember I told y'all this the seventh floor. You don't know what might happen on the seventh floor. You don't know who you might run into. You don't know what type of issues these folks might have. You just don't know, right? So I didn't want to come in there happy. I didn't want to come in there looking too friendly or anything like that. So I didn't say nothing to this guy. I ended up putting all my stuff together and I left. I went straight out the door, and kicked it in the day room for a little second. Just to show these folk like I ain't scared. Like it is what it is. I didn't have too much of anything that could be taken. So, I just left whatever I had in there. I had my net bag. Remember I told y'all the net bag come with tissue, soap, bath rag, bath towel, covers, and things like that. All the same stuff that he had. So, I wasn't expecting him to take anything or touch anything or anything like that. So it was all good. I didn't go to the store yet. I didn't have any commissary. I wasn't tripping. So I go out for my rotation. My rotation only lasted about 30 minutes because, that's about the time that I came. Each rotation lasts about 2.5, 3 hours at the maximum. I came at the last 30 minutes, but I kicked it. It was a junkie and a couple other folks watching TV kicked up on the chair, so I decided to sit a chair away from them, and I just decided to kick my feet up, and I just watched TV for the duration of my rotation. Now this was the end of the day. This was like our last rotation. So once we went in after that, it was a wrap. We was in for the rest of the night. So the guard ended up calling us to go in, and that's exactly what I did. But before I went in, I ended up using the phone. I called my mama. I let her know everything was good. I made it in here. Everything's straight. We finna go by the same rules as when I got locked up last time. Now, for those of y'all who don't know, the same rules was I only was going to call my mama on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That was it. I didn't want her to feel like, because my mama, she worked the job. I didn't want her to feel like she was ever going to miss my call. I just wanted to schedule this thing out so it'll be as less stressful as her and on me as possible. Because when you in jail, you just don't know what's going on. You don't know. I remember one time I called my mama from jail, and she knew I was supposed to call. She didn't pick up the phone. I called 3-4 more times until she picked that phone up because I didn't know. I'm in jail. I don't know what's going on. You think the worst stuff. You helpless in here. Like you can't really help your people. If they don't pick up the phone, all you can think of is either they busy or something is wrong. So to avoid situations like that, I just told her, hey, I'm going to only call Tuesdays and Thursdays around this time, and that's just what it's going to be. So that was what it was. I ended up calling her. The rotation ended. I went back in my cell. When I went in my cell, it was crickets. My cellie, he was down there reading a book or something like that. He wasn't really tripping. He was on the same thing I was on. He wasn't trying to talk until the next day. Or it might have been like the next 2-3 days. You feel me? I feel like we was in there for a little second, wasn't saying nothing, right? So now we in there, and fast forward, one morning come up and somebody come to my celly room, right? That was on the top rotation. We was in. Remember I told y'all when the top rotation is out, we in our cells. When they're in their cells, we out. For rotation. So we were in for rotation. We was about to come out for rotation, and my cellie ends up coming. And somebody ends up coming to my cell to talk to my cellie. Remember I told y'all in the Cobb County Jail, they got these steel doors, and it's a box with a transparent window where you can see out of, right? You can't really talk through these walls because they're so thick, but it's a flap under the steel window. Under the glass window, it's plexiglass window. It's a flap that you can open up, and that's where they give you your food. If you on lockdown or if anything is going on, they give you your mail or whatever the case through that flap. We used to have to bend down under that flap and talk to each other. So if one person is talking, my ear got to be down here. So somebody come to the cell and they get to talking to my cellmate. So they get to talking in a different language, right? They get to talking in all this code or something like that, like gang terminology. I'm not really necessarily knowing this code because I'm I'm from the other side. You know what I'm saying? They get to talking all this dog stuff, all these numbers and all this, you know, just codes and stuff like that. So they like, yeah, basically, to sum it all up, the guy on top rotation came to my cellmate room and basically told him that, hey, he just got a kite that some other blood member is supposed to be coming to this pod. He done been kited out of every other pod that he's been to because they claim him to. They say he's a false claimer. For those of y'all who don't know what kiting out is basically when you go to you push the button in your pod and you talk to the officer that's in the center tower, and you basically tell them, hey, I don't feel safe in this pod. Y'all gotta move me. You know, these folk gonna harm me or something like that. Or somebody could kite you out, meaning they beat you to a pulp or whatever and show them folk that you not safe. You know what I'm saying? So then at that point they gotta move you from the pod. You feel me? And some people like to take it like that because they don't want to feel like they have been being punked, right? And the word was this guy was just on and off with it, you know, like sometimes he would kite himself out, sometimes he would fight it out, you know, but the word was he was on the way to our pod. When they get finished talking, my cellmate, he bought shoes. Remember I told y'all, you can buy shoes on the store with your commissary money. You can buy shoes. So he bought shoes, and they ain't no real shoes. They ain't got no real sole on them or anything like that. You playing them too long, they gonna get holes in them and stuff. They look like Vans, you know, except they're all white, right? So he started lacing up his shoes, maybe a little 30 minutes to an hour later, you know, because it's about to be time for us to go on rotation. Now, as he's lacing up his shoes, we hear the door to the main pod pop, right? And lo and behold, some skinny tall guy with a 5-point star on his forehead walks into the pod, bro. He walks into the pod. He got all his stuff. He got a knot on his head and a black eye. So he walks into the pod, and he just so happens to be on the bottom floor, on the bottom row. He goes into his cell with whoever. I think he was in the cell with an older white guy, right? I think he was a junkie. He didn't never want no issues, you know. He stayed out of the business. He just wanted to come out and watch TV every day. And a crazy story about this junkie, right? I forgot his name, but he was like an older white guy. He was real short. This is a crazy side story. This junkie ended up getting locked up because he was living in a tent. He was living in a tent with his girlfriend. His girlfriend just so happened to be a junkie too. This guy went out to go panhandle one day, right? He went out to go if y'all don't know what panhandling is, it's basically going out asking for money. He went out looking for stuff to bring home to his tent. You know, I guess he was building a tent home with their woman. You feel me? I don't remember where he said he met her at, you know, but they didn't know each other but about 7 days or something like that. They ain't know each other too long. He ended up moving her in. They stayed in the tent under the bridge in Atlanta. So he goes out to panhandle, and he comes back one day, bruh. And this guy says it was another junkie man in there hitting his junkie wife. I'm talking about shots. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about getting it up, getting it to it. You feel me? Crazy, right? Like what type of, like these folk, then in that moment, I'm like, damn, these folk live just like regular folks. You know what I'm saying? Like, me personally, if I was a junkie, I wouldn't even be thinking about getting none. You know, I'm trying to get up out my feet. I'm trying to get up out these streets. I'm definitely not trying to hit nothing that's living in a tent. You know? So he came home into his tent. He saw his girlfriend having relations with another junkie, bro. So he threatened the other junkie. The other man left. He just ran out. You know, I guess he didn't want no smoke. But he ended up beating his girlfriend up, bro. Drug her down the street and everything. She went and got the police. They came back to his tent and picked him up, right? So so that's how he got locked up. You feel me? He wasn't even tripping though, because at this point, I ended up talking to him later. He told me like, man, I got 3 hots in the cot in here. You know, 3 meals, and I get somewhere warm to sleep, and I get the TV and all that. He used to always argue about the TV because he wanted the remote. He used to be like, what a moat. What a moat, what a moat. Yeah, if somebody else had the remote, he used to be mad about that. But That just so happened to be this new guy's roommate, right? He wasn't finna protect nobody. So he went in the room with this guy, and it was time for us to come out for rotation. Now remember I told y'all he was on the bottom row for rotation. The bottom row for rotation just so happened to be my row, right? My row and my cellmate's row. Now this when it get tricky. As soon as we come out for rotation, I see my cellie and about 3-4 other people go talk to Buddy. They go talk to him, and they just ask him a whole bunch of questions. You know, I didn't really go over there and making my business or anything like that at that point, because, you know, it's not my business. You feel me? On top of the fact that I kind of figured they was all bloods from the way they was talking from the jump. So I'm like, man, you know, I wasn't just coming in here gang banging. I like to know what going on first. I don't lead with what I represent. You feel me? I wanna see what going on first. Like that's game to anybody, fool. Don't never go nowhere and just crash out, cuz. You know what I'm saying? Like, peep the scene first. You know, see what going on. It ain't like you dishonoring what you belong to or what you believe in. At the end of the day, it's chess, not checkers. You feel me? So I see them over there questioning them and all that like that. My cellmate, he ends up walking around the pod with him, with the young guy. And now every time he walks over by where I'm at by the TV, I hear him say certain things, right? So the last little rotation they did around the pod, he tells him like, hey, I need you to present some type of knowledge or something so I know it's real. You know, I need you to get on this phone or something like that, and I need you to prove that you are who you say you are. So he like, all right, bet. Bro, this man get on the phone, bro, and he calls a couple people. He ends up giving my cellmate the phone. When he gives my cellmate the phone, I guess whoever was on the phone didn't say what he was supposed to say, right? So my cellie's like, yeah, nah, that's not good enough. But at this point in time, our rotation is up. When our rotation is, it was like Buddy got saved by the bell, fool. Buddy got saved by the officer on everything. Because now our rotation is up. We got to go back in. But it was like my celly, he just checked this man paperwork. He just checked this man status and all that. He got a phone call from the outside. And now he basically just confirmed that whoever this guy was is not really a real blood. We ended up going back in our cells. When we go back in our cells, remember I told y'all we got about 2 or 3 rotations a day. I think it's about 3 rotations a day, and we come out for dinner, right? So at this point, you know, I'm at the top bunk. I still ain't said nothing to my celly. You feel me? He ain't said nothing to me. You know, and another the same cellmate from the top row comes back to my cellmate's cell, right? And they talking behind the door again. You know, I'm right here. I'm laying right here. So I hear everything my cellmate is talking about. So he basically tells Buddy that, hey, Buddy food. You feel me? Now, basically what that means in blood terminology is he ain't no good. You know, like, you do whatever to him. You know, he free game at this point in time. He fool. You eat him. He like, yeah, his paperwork didn't come back. You know, whoever he put on the phone, I could tell he wasn't who he say he was and things like that. Like, he just didn't pass the test for the county. He just didn't pass the test to be in the county bloods, man. You know what I'm saying? So man, 2-3 hours. So he like, all right, bet we gonna give him hell. So 2-3 hours later, the top rotation goes in, and now it's time for our rotation to come out, bro. Mind y'all, I ain't been here a week, fool. On the 7th floor. I'm just getting in here, bro. I come out for rotation, bro, and my cellmate is like, this the first time he say something to me. He like, hey, I'm finna use this room for a second, so go ahead and get everything that you need, you know, because you can't come back in here for a little minute. So I'm like, all right, you know, I ain't tripping. You know, that's how it go anyway. You get what I'm saying? Plus, like I told y'all, I'm just peeping game at this point. Like, it is what it is. It seemed like this guy, whoever this guy is, he's running the situation in this pod in particular. He got about 5-6 people behind him. you know, on the top level and the bottom level, really more than that. I just don't want to exaggerate. So I'm like, all right, bet. So he calls about 3 or 4 other guys over there to our cell. They all going into the cell that I just came out of, and he then proceeds to call the young guy that just came in that's supposed to be claiming blood, and he like, hey, bro, you already know what's going on. Before they walk into the cell, right? He like, hey, you already know what's going on, mind you. I'm still slick getting my stuff out the cell. You know what I'm saying? I ain't even got up out of there yet. You feel me? I'm still getting my toiletries. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting my extra shirt and all that, cause it just so happened to be cold out there. You feel me? I'm just trying to hurry up and gather my little stuff before whatever happened. You know what I'm saying? So as I'm walking out, I hear them folks telling him, man, like, hey, bro, your paperwork didn't come back good. You know, at this point in time, we gonna need you to kite out, or we gonna kite you out. You feel me? And buddy like, all right. Buddy like, all right, well, I know who I am, and I know that I ain't fake, so y'all just gonna have to kite me out. So so he said, you sure that's what you want to do? Straight like that. And buddy like, yeah. So remember I told y'all, when we come out for rotation, we get a certain amount of time to handle our business and all that before the guy at the officer at the center tower locks our doors, so we can't go back in. You know, we gotta stay in the day room. He lock our doors. You either stay in your room or you stay out for rotation. So we got about 10-15 minutes. Remember I told y'all I'm gathering all my stuff, and I'm hearing this as I'm gathering all my stuff. As I walk out, they put a towel over the door. Now, for those of y'all who don't know, I explained this on part 6 or something. When they put a towel over the door, that basically means something is about to happen that they don't want the officers to see, right? That's in the center tower, because they can look from the center tower and see in everybody's pod. He puts a towel over the door. I don't leave all the way this time. I get out the room, right? But I walk a couple feet away because I'm curious now. I want to see what's going on. You feel me? So I put my foot on the wall and I just kick it. The door right here. The door maybe about 5 feet away from me. I went far enough, but the door was like 5 feet away from me. So I posted up and I crossed my arms and I'm kicking it. So when they close that door, mind you, oh yeah, they put a sock in the door also, so they can close the door, but they can pull the sock and it open by itself. It's something that I ended up learning later. It's dope for real. Like that's how you break out. You feel me? But we gonna get to that, because I had to break out of my cell a couple times. You feel me? They ended up putting a sock in the door. They closed the door so it'll be closed a little bit, and bro, they proceed to do this man dirty, fool. On everything, they do this man dirty, bro. All I hear is ooh, ooh, boom, 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 boom. All I hear is they moving the room with this man. You know what I'm saying? Like just going at it. You feel me? Like I couldn't really see what was going on, but it was like the room was shaking. Maybe about 10 minutes passed, right? And and they opened the door. All the other bloods that was jumping on this guy, they leave, and a couple of them go back upstairs. They put socks in their door, you know, they end up popping their door back open. The other ones, go back to their rooms to go get whatever they needed to finish their rotation. And my cellmate asked me, "Hey, you good?" He asked me before he closed the door. Remember I'm right here by the door. He asked me again, "Are you good?" I'm like, yeah, but before I said yeah, I look in there, and bro, tell me why they got this man hung up on the. All right, we got double beds, fool. We got bunk beds in this cell. They still tell me why they got this man hung up by his drawers, bro, on my bed. I'm talking about he hanging, bruh. He's hanging by his drawers on my bed. Like, he not on my bed, but he's hanging from my bed. Like, they done beat him so bad, bro, and done hung him up by his drawers on my bed and just let him hang there, bro. My cellie, he when I tell him I don't need nothing, I don't know if he wanted me to see that. because I had been quiet the whole time. You feel me? I don't know. I don't know if it was just by chance. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But my celly ends up telling me like, all right, cool. So he closes the door and he basically gets him off of the bed, right? And pushes him out. When he pushes him out the cell, bro, this man got about 3-4 knots on his head, bro. His head is split open. Both of his eyes are black at this point. It's just a bad situation, fool. And he tells the man, he like, hey, now go in your room, bro, and don't come back out. And that's exactly what he do. He like, don't come back out no more, or else we gonna do this to you every time until you kite out. That's how they played it. You feel me? Buddy stayed. I ain't gonna lie. After that day, Buddy stayed maybe. I don't know if Cuz was strong or if he was just dumb, or if he thought them folk was just gonna rock with him one day or something like that. I don't know what he thought, but he ended up staying a couple more days and got beat again, bro. He got beat that he stayed maybe about 2-3 more days. That third day, they ended up catching him again because he didn't kite out. Every day they woke up, they was hoping to see that he wasn't in his cell, or hoping to see that him kite out just in general. That third day, they ended up catching him because he wasn't coming out. They ended up catching him. They beat him again, bro. They beat him they beat him by the all right. In the day room, it's a little area where you can go to the bathroom, and it's kind of segregated from the watchtower that the police be in. Like you can see it, but not really. My celly would get his blood homies to stand in front of that little segregated area, so if the police did look that way, he couldn't see nothing. Bro, they beat him so bad in that area one time, fool. It was like he couldn't even get up, bro. They ended up kiting him out. His cellmate ended up kiting him out, basically saying he was gonna croak if he stayed in here. You remember I told y'all, the celly, he used to mind his business, but in this case, he was on the blood side. He seen where the power was, and he said, hey, bro, I'm just trying to save your life at this point. He was a cranky old man too, bro. I ain't even, you wouldn't even think he had the heart. You know what I'm saying? Either that or he was tired of that man coming in his room bleeding, bro. Straight up. And that probably was the case, bro, because he was like a cranky dwarf type old man, for real, for real. He probably wanted to sell to himself from the jump. Then this man kept bringing trouble to his dorm. To his cell. Usually when you locked up with somebody, your celly, y'all ride together. You feel me? So they ended up beating him, bro, to a point where it was like he could have really got sent up out of there. And his celly ended up pushing the button and getting him up out of there. And the police came, cleaned out his room, sent him to another pod, and they came and got all his stuff, bro. And that was the last time I seen Buddy again. You feel me? I heard about him again because, mind you, this ended up happening to him a couple more times. Because remember I told y'all, my cellmate ended up being the head blood in the jail. And how I ended up finding that out was I actually ended up sparking a conversation after that. After that third beating, we went in the cell and I'm like, hey, bro, what y'all got going on in here? You feel me? Like, what's up? You feel me? Like, because really, Buddy didn't even seem too old. Like, he seemed like a young guy. I'm already knowing slick what's going on, but we in here, we ain't got nothing to do. We ain't on rotation. You feel me? He doing push-ups or something like that. I'm on the top bunk. I'm like, man, it's time to talk, cause he ain't gonna say nothing. I ain't gonna say nothing. Somebody gotta break this silence. So I ended up asking him what's going on, and he gave me the whole breakdown, bro. He gave me the whole entire breakdown, fool. He let me know who he is in the jail. He let me know just everything. You feel me? And how situations like that happen all the time on this flow. On this flow and on this pod in particular, right? Because even when we was out in pods, bro, even when we was out in the day room on rotation, he would go, it was a door that was separating other pods from my pod. and you can ring the doorbell, right? Like it's a door knob. These doors don't open, but they separate our pods. You can hit the door knob, bro. And when you hit that door knob, somebody from the other pod say, "Hey, the doorbell ringing," right? So somebody else will come to the door and say, "Who you looking for?" And my cellmate was always politicking with other bloods and other pods, you know. So it was like this whole flow was pretty much his, you know. And I soon found that out. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, oh, okay, all right, that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? We talked maybe all night. We talked for a couple more days, and then one day, maybe about 3-4 days after we actually started talking, he asked me. We was in our cell. It was nighttime, and he just asked me straight up. He said, "You know how to fight?" I said, "Man, I do well. You know, I'm straight with mine. You feel me?" So he like, "All right, get up." We in the cell, fool. The cell this big, man. You know what I'm saying? It's a toilet right here. It's a sink right here. It's the beds right here. All we got is this much to fight. You know what I'm saying? So he like, "All right, get up. I want to see what you talking about." So of course I wasn't just finna lay there, man. I hopped up off the bed and listen. And listen, man, it went down. You know what I'm saying? But hey, man, drop part 9 in the comments if y'all want part 9, fool. Cause, bro, like I told y'all, it got real exciting this go round in 7 Northwest. I'm glad I did that little 3 months beforehand because I got to see a little taste of this. But it was biting a little bit more. You know what I mean? And mind y'all, my brother, he's on the 7th floor somewhere also. I think he was somewhere on the northeast or something like that, right? And I'm going to get into that story, bro, because it got real when he came around. And I got to tell you how he came around also. You feel me? Because he rang bells in the jail before he even got to where I was at. You know what I'm saying? But hey, listen, man. Y'all drop part 9 in the comments and I'm going to give y'all that. You feel me? But, man, I appreciate everybody who been rocking. You know, y'all make sure y'all go watch the new series, the day I became the plug, because that's finna get real. Also, it's gonna connect with this story pretty soon, you know. But I got a couple little stories in 7 Northwest. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna get there. But man, y'all make sure y'all like, share, subscribe, and until next time, man. 100.